catastrophe is unfolding in southern Asia right now. The strongest earthquake in 4 decades.
The tragedy of staggering proportions.
On the morning of December 26, 2004, families gathered for breakfast. Tourists lounged by the sea, and coastal towns across the Indian Ocean awoke to what felt like just another warm holiday morning. But beneath the surface, pressure had been building for centuries, and within hours the ocean would rise. Pulling entire worlds into silence. Stay with us as we retrace that morning. A morning like any other. Across the beaches of Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia, the light that morning felt soft, the kind that filters through palms and settles over the sand. Street vendors set up stalls, children chased dogs through alleyways, fishermen prepped boats. It was, by all appearances, an ordinary start to a day still steeped in holiday calm. Many resorts along the Indian Ocean were fully booked, families celebrating Christmas, couples on honeymoons, travelers stretching the final days of December before the new year began. But far below the floor of the sea, at the edge of the Sunda Trench, the Indian plate had been slowly grinding beneath the Burma plate for hundreds of years. The plates had locked, building tension in silence. That morning, at exactly 7:58 a.m. local time, the fault line ruptured. What followed was not a brief shudder, but nearly 10 full minutes of violent shaking, a geological exhale centuries in the making. Few on land felt the quake directly. Its epicenter was more than 30 kilometers beneath the seafloor, far from sight and sound. There were no alarms, no immediate signs that the earth had shifted. For those above ground, breakfast continued. Taxi engines rumbled. The tide rolled in and out. In the lull between rupture and wave, the world lingered in its last moments of normalcy. And in those minutes, unseen and undisturbed, an unstoppable force began its journey toward the shore. The earth breaks. When the fault finally gave way, it did so with extraordinary violence. A rupture nearly 300 kilometers long tore through the ocean floor off the west coast of Sumatra. In the span of minutes, entire sections of the Earth's crust thrust upward by more than 10 meters. The seabed didn't just crack, it rose, fell, and shifted permanently. Some islands moved several meters closer to each other. Others sank. From above, satellites would later show coastlines redrawn, as if by a giant invisible hand. The earthquake's magnitude was eventually measured between 9.1 and 9.3. placing it among the strongest ever recorded. To put that energy release into perspective, it was equivalent to more than 20,000 atomic bombs of the size dropped on Hiroshima. But it wasn't just the magnitude, it was the duration. The shaking lasted for nearly 10 minutes, an eternity in geological terms. That prolonged rupture allowed an immense transfer of energy into the surrounding ocean, setting the stage for catastrophe. Incredibly, the earthquake was so powerful that it caused the Earth's mass to redistribute. Scientists at NASA and the United States Geological Survey later reported that the shift altered the planet's rotation slightly, shortening the length of a day by a fraction of a millisecond. Even the axis of Earth's tilt wobbled by a few centimeters. It was a planetary event, felt not just on shorelines, but measured in the rotation of the entire globe. But on that morning, none of this was yet understood. The ground had quieted, the air was still, and across the Indian Ocean, billions of tons of seawater had just been displaced. What rose from that rupture would soon turn tranquil coastlines into corridors of destruction. The ocean turns against the world. Tsunamis are not waves in the way most people imagine them. They are not single crests that crash and retreat. They are entire bodies of water in motion, deep, fast, and unrelenting. In the open ocean, the tsunami generated by the earthquake traveled at nearly 500 miles per hour. Ships sailing above it noticed nothing. The wave's height was minimal in deep water. But as it neared land and the seafloor rose, all that energy compressed upward. A slow rise became a vertical wall. In the Indonesian province of Aceh, the tsunami arrived in less than 20 minutes. There was no time to warn, no time to flee. Entire neighborhoods in Banda Aceh were submerged within moments. Houses crumbled under the pressure of continuous water flow. Fishing boats were hurled miles inland. Survivors spoke of being dragged through debris-filled streets, clinging to doors, tree branches, and anything that floated. Further away, in Thailand's resort town of Khao Lak, video footage captured tourists walking toward an unnaturally retreating sea. Few recognized it as a warning. Minutes later, the water returned with violent force, sweeping away hotels, markets, and hundreds of lives. The same pattern played out along the coasts of Sri Lanka and India. Some regions were struck by waves up to 30 feet high. Others endured flooding that pushed inland for over 2 miles. In one haunting case, a passenger train in Sri Lanka, known as the Queen of the Sea, was hit while carrying over 1,700 people. The train was lifted and hurled from the tracks, killing nearly everyone aboard. It remains one of the deadliest rail disasters in history. The wave did not discriminate. It crossed borders, erased maps, and carried with it the same quiet devastation that began beneath the sea. Silent warnings. What made the tsunami even deadlier was not just its force, but the silence that accompanied it. Unlike the Pacific Ocean, which had long been monitored by a well-established tsunami warning system, the Indian Ocean had no such infrastructure in place. No sirens, no evacuation protocols, no communication networks capable of translating seismic data into life-saving alerts. Seismologists around the world had detected the earthquake within minutes. Institutions in Hawaii and Japan registered the massive rupture and recognized its potential, but there was no system linking that information to the countries in harm's path. As a result, the knowledge remained trapped in scientific circles while the wave raced toward shorelines. In Thailand, families filmed the unusual low tide, unaware it was the ocean drawing breath before the strike. In India, fishing villages had no warning as the wall of water surged inland, flattening homes made of wood and thatch. And in Sri Lanka, those who survived the initial surge often returned to look for family or belongings, only to be caught by a second, even stronger wave. The Queen of the Sea, a crowded passenger train bound for Gali, stood directly in the path of destruction. Witnesses said the train shook as the ground trembled. Moments later, waves tore through the railway, lifting carriages off the track and crushing them like tin. More than 1,700 lives were lost in minutes. By the time officials fully grasped the scale of the unfolding disaster, it had already leapt across continents, and the ocean had more to give. A signal from space. In the hours that followed the tsunami, the full extent of devastation remained elusive. Roads were gone, power lines severed, and entire towns simply stopped communicating. For many, the only clues came not from eyewitness accounts, but from orbit. As night fell over Sumatra, satellites from the United States Defense Meteorological Satellite Program began transmitting unusual data. Massive sections of coastline had gone dark. In normal conditions, satellites track human presence by monitoring artificial light, street lamps, homes, vehicles. But now, across parts of Aceh, there was nothing. Entire cities had vanished from view, not because of clouds or interference, but because there were no longer lights to emit. In a matter of hours, whole populations had been extinguished so thoroughly that the loss could be seen from space. This sudden absence of light offered one of the earliest large-scale indicators of the tsunami's true reach. It startled analysts and humanitarian agencies, many of whom had yet to receive any confirmed reports from the ground. The satellite data helped redirect emergency response efforts to the darkest zones, places where silence now marked the epicenter of destruction. For the first time, humanity began to understand that in disasters of this scale, space-based monitoring might become a frontline tool. It wasn't just science fiction, it was necessary. The night sky didn't just witness the tragedy, it illuminated where the living might still be found, and where the dead now lay beyond reach. In a catastrophe shaped by silence, it was the absence of light that finally spoke. The wave erased cities, but it left behind a warning carved in silence. When the sea retreats without reason, will we remember what comes next? Tell us. Should coastal communities be doing more today to prepare for tomorrow's disasters? Share your thoughts in the comments below.